My name is Robin Koo, and I direct the Kyrio NFV Interop Lab at Cable Labs. Brief introduction. Most of you know that Cable Labs is the research and development and innovation engine for the global cable industry. You might not know that Cable Labs has a couple of subsidiaries, a couple of daughter companies, UpRamp and Kyrio. And just a quick word on who those are and what they do. UpRamp is basically an incubator that goes and looks for new technologies, startups, and then brings them in, coaches them, and then introduces them to potential clients in the operator market. So UpRamp's going and looking for new technologies to bring into the cable and the operator ecosystem. And Kyrio is really tasked with commercialization, hate to use that word, but it's true, commercialization of technology into the cable and the operator network. So commercialization is really adoption. It's really looking at, trialing, beginning to think about how to sew new technology into the technology roadmap and actually beginning to deploy. That's what that's the sense in which I'm using commercialization for Kyrio. A little feedback from our last year's customer customer surveys was a little bit of confusion about what we're trying to do. Kyrio does not have the purpose of monetizing Cable Labs IPR. It's not about trying to license out Cable Labs innovation and development work. It's really about helping operators find solutions that will solve their business problems and then beginning to familiarize and then think about how to deploy those solutions in their networks. So that's Cable Labs, Kyrio, UpRamp, and I'm with Kyrio. A little bit of background before we go to the next slide. Oh my gosh, I started in networking in the mid-90s as a network engineer and a sysadmin at an ISP in Los Angeles. That was back in the days of dial-up modems for your internet access. And then I went to Cable Labs, and I've been working in test engineering, certification, test automation, various programs, voice over IP, IPv6, some optical transport testing, and finally DOCSIS 3.1, leading the team that's automating the certification testing for DOCSIS 3.1 for Cable Labs. So been sitting kind of at the crossroads, right, the nexus of technology development in the cable industry for kind of a long time. And here's how things look to me. When I'm thinking about the evolution of networks, I'm thinking about where networks come from. They come from cable, they come from telephony, they come from pure IP, and they seem to be converging or colliding at the network core. This is kind of how it looks like the world is going. I think in 5, 10, maybe 15 years, if you look at network service providers, you're not really going to see a whole lot of difference at the core. Galaxies are sort of colliding. In a very, 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 very simplified view of SDN and NFV, what it really looks like to me as kind of an operations, deployment, practical implementer sort of role is the simplest view of SDN and NFV is the virtualization sandwich. Dr. Rivera used the word sandwich. I like that word. It applies to this slide. Basically, it looks like the network core is either wholly or partially virtualized, and all services, all business processes run in the core. Northbound, you have switches that connect you to the rest of the world, to the internet, to other service providers, your partners, or other network sites. And then southbound, another layer of switches that give you access to your access network, whatever that may be. And I'm showing 5 here, and that's probably pretty representative. There's optical transport, there's HFC, there's Wi-Fi and 4G mobile network, and there's I'm even showing DSL here. So lots of different ways that you can connect customers to your network, and in the world to come, it seems as though those are going to be fairly modular, pluggable, and removable from your network in some sense, so that you can tailor and adapt your network to serve your clientele in a way that makes the most sense for who they are and where they're located. You can distribute your access network, and it all connects to the same core more or less modularly. So in thinking about the network in that sense, we at Cable Labs and Kyrio are thinking, what can we do to help the operator, the cable community, and also the non-cable community to speed adoption and utilization, uptake of this technology. And there's really probably four legs to that table, at least for us. The first is standards. So my colleague Don Clark, formerly of British Telecom, now of Cable Labs, and Tetsuya Nakamura, formerly of NTT Docomo, and now of Cable Labs, are really driving cable interests and operator interests in the standards arena. They're both chairing working groups in ETSI NFV. So there's a real push into the standards to have open, interoperable frameworks upon which to build solutions. So the solutions themselves, we are looking at integrating and then demonstrating at the Kyrio NFV Interop Lab. Because Kyrio is a wholly owned subsidiary of Cable Labs, a for-profit subsidiary, we're not bound by Cable Labs' charter to serve only the cable industry. We can do proof of concept and system integration demonstrations for a broader audience than just cable. So we've established an interoperability lab at Cable Labs. This is a picture of the lab. It's behind the glass in the lobby at our headquarters in Louisville, and it's unremarkable because all it really is some racks of servers. But the thing that's really interesting are the systems that run on these servers and what we're able to do with just standard off-the-shelf servers. So there's the Kyrio Interop Lab, second part of the strategy. Third part of the strategy is some kind of well-known, well-understood, widely available reference architecture, cloud architecture on which to run virtual network functions and actually implement proof of concepts. And Randy Liebensaller, who's sitting here in the audience, he is leading the SNAPS project, which is an R&D project at Cable Labs, and that's, SDN, NFV, Application Development Platform, and Stack, SNAPS. Basically, it's a wrapper around OpenStack that allows you to prepare and then image a pod of servers, and then install OpenStack and configure it for your environment, and bingo, you've got cloud infrastructure up and running and ready to go. This is an open source project. It's freely available to the world, and the idea here is that we, Cable Labs and Kyrio, have some kind of reference platform upon which to work, and also operators are able to go and grab this ability to install OpenStack, stand it up in their labs, and also repeat some of our work, stand up the VNFs and begin to trial and experiment. So that's the third leg of the table. And the last leg of the table is basically the economics behind virtualization. So it's great to have a wonderful technology, but without the economic drivers, no operator can actually think about beginning to adopt. So there's a lot of work going on at Cable Labs to actually look at the cost benefits of virtualization. This is just a teaser slide. This in no way indicates how much is really going on. Randy's got some of it in his deck, but this is SNL Kagan showing how CCAP or CMTS or the cable operator's HFC Edge router is going to transition from a hardware-based device to a software-based device over about the next 4 years. Huge shift here, and the reason for this is because the economics of space saving, power saving, and simple operations mandate that operators move in this direction. So their head ends are bursting, and they don't really have much choice. So there's a lot of total cost of ownership modeling going on, and that information is also shareable with our NDA vendor partners. If you're an NDA vendor, come and talk to us, and we'll be happy to help point you to the right people that are doing this kind of work. If you're not an NDA vendor, talk to us. We'll be happy to get you set up with the right people to put those agreements in place. Back to the Kyrio NFV Interop Lab. This talk is really a little bit of an update about the activities that are going on at Cable Labs and at Kyrio in order to drive this whole notion of interoperability and adoption. This is a system, this is an example of the integration work. This is a system that we did last year. You can probably follow it pretty well, but basically what happens here is there's a set of Intel servers. They're running SNAPS OpenStack, and on OpenStack we're running the virtual network functions for a vCCAP, a VEPC, a VWAG, and there's an IMS cord that's not shown here. It's off somewhere in the internet. And so connecting to the virtual core, this is all running in a single instance of OpenStack, and connecting to that mobile core is a wireless access point and a and an LTE small cell. And so subscriber provisions to the network, makes a call to anywhere in the world, and it'll come up on the wireless access point. If the access point goes down, you roll over to the LTE small cell, and when the access point comes back, the wireless Wi-Fi access point comes back up, you roll back. So the network is aware of both of these access technologies and synchronizes them both for the best customer experience. Interesting thing about this is it's combining optical transport, the HFC architecture, a mobile core, and an LTE core, all in one instance of OpenStack. So that very first slide, the sandwich, I mean, there's 4 of the access technologies are already sitting here in this POC. In the world where there's a virtualized core and then there's access network, whatever of your choosing, that's coming a lot faster, I think, than many people, especially in the cable industry, really realize or understand. I think our job is to help them understand that and begin to move in that direction. Second example of the kind of work that the Kyrio and the Interop Lab is doing is this proof of concept. This was created, architected by Amdocs in partnership with Nuage, Nokia, and Fortinet, and this one shows IP MPLS links, SD-WAN, over a pure IP network, and this is distribution of SD-WAN links to 2 branch offices using the Nokia Nuage SD-WAN application, and then scale up and down of bandwidth, and then distribution application of firewall to both of those links with appropriate scaling of up and down of firewall, detection of health, and repair. And all of this was actually deployed via an orchestration layer from Amdocs, which is a hugely important step for operationalizing any of these virtual network functions. So this one shows probably yet another access architecture that's available to operators, plus the ability to orchestrate the deployment of these VNFs. So this is the kind of work that we're doing in the Kyrio NFV Interop Lab. Very interesting to see concept actually realizing in working systems, and it's vastly interesting for operators that are in a lot of senses playing catch up or are fast following the telephony industry. So cable is starting to wake up, they're starting to think about it, and they're starting to actually begin to pay attention to these kinds of proof of concepts and bringing them into their own labs for trial. So I am down to the 2-minute. Great. So what are we really after in the Kyrio NFV Interop Lab? What we're really after, what we really want to see is a healthy ecosystem of solutions meeting a large marketplace of operators, right? Telco and cable is a larger market than either alone, and what we'd really like to do is help facilitate the interaction between solution providers and operator customers. That's our charter. That's what we're after, and everything that we do is kind of focused on helping. What do I say? Focused on helping peanut butter meet chocolate. So what we've got right now is a set of VNFs in our lab running on those OpenStack pods that you saw behind the glass in the Interop Lab. There's a number of them. There's half a dozen of them. We'd like to increase that. We'd like to see a larger selection of virtual applications available for our members and for anybody that's interested in viewing the work. And on the bottom, you can see that we've already got proof of concept systems for a whole host of access technologies, and we plan to augment and proliferate the number of access technologies that we actually have access to in order to help the members find solutions that really solve their business and deployment cases. So I'll leave you with one more graphic, and that is this. What we're about is baking a bigger pie for everyone. So Kyrio and Cable Labs are not in the business of trying to impose a tax on the industry by licensing IPR or by siphoning off capital. What we really want to do is make a bigger pie, and everybody can have a bigger slice of that pie. So operator space gets larger, solution provider space gets larger, they come together, everybody wins. That's the only way that we win. So thanks, that's all I've really got. I'll take a question or two. I've got probably 13 seconds, And if you want to grab me for, if you're interested in any of the topics that I've touched on, either our standards work or our open source work, or our economic modeling, or proof of concept systems and VNF validation and onboarding, please just grab me. I'll be here today, later today, and through tomorrow. So if no questions, thank you very much.